Hi guys, we are back yet again with a recap for smartphones released in the Philippines. This time, we'll be covering devices priced under 20,000 pesos. Again, phones listed fell within the set budget at the time of writing. In addition, these will reflect suggested retail prices upon release in the disclaimer below. All things considered, there's stiff competition with price hikes left and right. That said, we hope to give viewers some insight into what might be the best pick with your budget considered. After all, we're just looking for what gives us the best value for money at the end of the day. So, let's dive right into what the first quarter of the year has to offer under 20,000 pesos. First on the list, we have the Samsung Galaxy A26 5G. Compared to its predecessor, changes feel incremental at first glance. What makes the phone a good option for now is that it offers One UI's AI-powered features at a modest price. Key specs include its 6.7-inch Super AMOLED display supporting FHD+ resolution capped at 120Hz. The screen is also protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. Powering this device is an Exynos 1380 with up to 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage. And if you were curious, yes, this phone supports expandable storage up to 2TB via a microSD hybrid slot. For cameras, it has triple rear shooters headlined by a 50MP main with OIS. It also has a 13MP selfie snapper situated in a dewdrop notch. Plus, it packs a 5000 mAh battery with support for 25 watts of fast charging. As mentioned, this phone will ship with One UI 7 based on Android 15 and will support software updates until March of 2031. As per Samsung. In other words, it's good for 6 years of uptime, which is pretty good. The Samsung Galaxy A26 5G is available in black, mint, and peach pink colorways. It's available in the Philippines starting at 15,190 pesos with a storage configuration of 6GB and 128GB. It's also available for 17,990 with the more standard 8 and 256GB combo. Up next, we have the Honor X9C. This offering was the brand's first prominent release this year, touching up their line of tough smartphones. Having reviewed it myself, I'd say it's a solid pickup. Quite literally. It's well equipped to deal with a lot of things, ranging from scratches, drops, and even boiling. For hardware, it has a 6.78-inch AMOLED with FHD+ resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. The screen also boasts double-tempered Asahi glass protection to add to its, toughness. Under the hood, it's powered by a Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage. While the chipset is a bit dated, it's still up to par performance-wise. We've been able to use it for the usual tasks like browsing, video streaming, and photography. Speaking of, it has dual rear shooters which include a 108MP main with OIS paired with a 5MP wide camera. For selfies, it has a 16MP front camera. For its battery, it has a capacity of 5000 mAh with support for 66 watts of Honor Supercharge. The Honor X9C retails for 16,999 pesos. It'll ship with Magic OS 8.0 based on Android 14. Moving on, we have the Poco X7 with a higher storage configuration compared to what we covered in our previous video. The phone has a 6.67-inch 3D curved AMOLED screen supporting 1.5K resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. The display is covered with Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 as well. The phone packs a Dimensity 7300 Ultra with 12GB of RAM and 512GB of internal storage. This chipset has an average Antutu score around 677,000. Which should be telling as a mid-range offering. For photos and the like, it has a triple rear shooter setup, which includes a 50MP main with OIS, 8MP ultra-wide, and 2MP macro. At the front, it has a 20MP selfie shooter. The X7 packs a 5110 mAh battery with 45 watts of fast charging support as well. This model of the Poco X7 ships with Xiaomi HyperOS and is available in silver, green, and black for 16,199 pesos. Of course, we also have the Poco X7 Pro. As mentioned in my published review of the device, this phone is positioned to be a great find in 2025. For those that missed it, you should definitely check it out as it boasts impressive specs at an affordable price. Similar to the base model, it has a 6.67-inch AMOLED display with the same resolution and refresh rate. However, it has a higher 3200 nit peak brightness level and is protected by Gorilla Glass 7i instead. It's also powered by a Dimensity 8400 Ultra with 12GB of RAM and 512GB of UFS 4.0 storage. This chipset got the device a score of around 1.6 million as per our Antutu benchmark test. Needless to say, this phone's pretty cracked as is. For cameras, it only has dual rear shooters opposed to the base model's triple rear setup. On paper, the specs show similar numbers save for the missing macro sensor. For battery, the X7 Pro has a 6000 mAh capacity with a higher charging speed of 90 watts. The Poco X7 Pro ships with Xiaomi HyperOS, available starting at 16,199 pesos. For reference, our review unit had 12GB of RAM and 512GB of storage, which is priced at 19,199 pesos. Well, it wouldn't be a mid-range roundup without Redmi's Note line of smartphones. For this price range, we have the Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G. We have to say though, this iteration of the device looks the best so far. This phone has a 6.67-inch AMOLED screen with 1.5K resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. It's also covered by a layer of Gorilla Glass Victus 2 for protection. Just like the Poco X7, powering it is a Dimensity 7300 Ultra. This phone comes with up to 12GB of RAM and up to 512GB of storage. As per our review on the device, it was able to give us a rough score of around 680,000 in Antutu. It's decent and shows promise for those that need a reliable mobile gaming device. For optics, it has a 200-megapixel main with OIS, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 2-megapixel macro sensor at the rear. It also comes equipped with a 20-megapixel selfie shooter. Rounding up the specs, it has a 5110 mAh battery with support for 45 watts of fast charging. The Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G runs on Xiaomi HyperOS as well, with its price starting at 17,199 pesos. The higher configuration with 12GB of RAM and 512GB of storage is priced at 19,199 pesos instead. Now we have one of the more quirkier entries in the list, the Nothing Phone 3A. Fairly enough, it's quite similar to its predecessor, save for a more visor-like build for its camera enclosure. It has a 6.77-inch AMOLED display with FHD Plus resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. But now it's protected by Panda Glass instead. It's powered by Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 with up to 12GB of RAM and up to 256GB of internal storage. As per our review on the device, it was able to give us a score of around 780,000 in Antutu. We also mentioned that it was decent for gaming, able to run casual and mobile games with ease. This phone also has a triple camera setup, which includes a 50-megapixel main with OIS, a 50-megapixel telephoto, and an 8-megapixel ultra-wide. At the front, it has a 32-megapixel shooter for selfies. Next, the phone packs a 5,000 mAh battery with 50 watts of fast charging support. The Nothing Phone 3A ships with Nothing OS 3.1 out of the box and starts at 19,199 pesos. Take note though, this is for its base configuration with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage. Last but not least, we have the Samsung Galaxy A36. It has a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED screen with FHD Plus resolution and a refresh rate of 120Hz. Powering it is a Snapdragon 6 Gen 3 with up to 8GB of RAM and up to 256GB of internal storage. Unfortunately, this iteration of the device does not support expandable storage anymore. As per our benchmarks though, this phone was able to score a modest 600K in Antutu. From my experience though, the phone should be able to keep up with modern games. Of course, this is provided that graphics settings aren't throttled too high. For optics, the phone has a 50-megapixel main, 8-megapixel ultra-wide, and 5-megapixel macro at the rear. There's also a 12-megapixel camera at the top of the display. Moving on, the A36 packs a sizable 5,000 mAh battery with support for 45 watts of fast charging. It'll ship with One UI 7 based on Android 15, which again is guaranteed support for 6 years of OS updates and security patches. The Samsung A36 5G retails for 19,190 pesos with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. And that's about it for this round of smartphone releases in the Philippines. So, which one would you guys pick? Let us know in the comment section below. If you want to keep seeing more videos like this, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell for future uploads. You can also feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, or check us out at yugatech.com for the latest in tech news and reviews. This has been Dwayne, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.